This is what we're up against. Harry Silver.
That is the baby Colin Robinson, I assume.
He really loves musical theater.
Would have the dark Lord wrought.
Ha hey ha! How you doing?
Why are you here?
Wanted you to know that he changed his styles after all.
You heard it up top. We're back with another one-of-a-kind Normie special. It's a Whatcha episode where we're going to go around and let you get to know your host just a little bit better as they dive in with Whatcha, what they're watching, reading, playing, enjoying, all that good stuff. With your hosts, Colin.
Mike, just Mike.
And this is Jacob. Hello, Normies.
Hello.
Hello, are you talking to me or the listeners? You know, Normies like us.
Everyone.
I don't know if they're similar to us or they just enjoy us. That's the mystery of the name of the show.
We're the Normies. They're
That's
the
right.
Normies.
We're
They
all
like
the
us.
Normies.
You're all the Normies.
Yes.
Except for not the YouTube channel that also has that name. Fuck them.
No.
You know?
They're not the Normies.
Right. Totally coincidental. But yeah, we're here doing a Whatcha, 210 of these. I guess, a good way to open it up is, we just all kind of had a big, weekend trip, together, as you might know.
That's
Went
right.
on the annual Normies Like Us retreat, of course, where
the
we
corporate retreat.
go out to a cabin in the woods. We tell each other how Normies are, what we are.
Trust Falls.
No, we went on. Yeah.
Team building.
We
right?
went on a separate vacation with us and our fantasy football crew. As we've mentioned in the past, we're fantasy footballers on here. And we did sort of a draftcation and rented a house in Las Vegas. Good work, Jacob, for putting that together.
Yeah,
That's right. Viva Las Vegas. And yeah, the house was great. We had a great time. Had a little pool action, little
Yes.
fantasy drafting. And
Yes.
then what did we do? We went to Excalibur, the casino,
The King's
the
Tournament.
night-themed casino. And we went to, their
Yeah.
version of medieval times.
Yeah, I think
And we did that.
we were really high on fantasy because of fantasy football won, and then obviously
That's right.
House of the Dragon, Rings of Power. We were just like, fantasy. Let's go to Excalibur, right? We wanted dinner and a
We
show.
put the fantasy in fantasy football, Mike.
Mhm.
You're right.
We absolutely did, and nobody, nothing went wrong. There was certainly no flat tires partway through. Air conditioners
No,
worked
we all
great.
made a ton
Yep.
of money.
Yep. So
Yes, definitely
weirdly-
didn't get COVID at the
No.
casino.
Oh, no.
wear your masks when you're at the casinos. But everyone, honestly, stay safe out there. Check the boosters, right? Colin, it's
Yes.
ironic that you and I are both wearing the same tank tops we wore when we arrived to Vegas.
That's true.
Wow, that's
if you're
true.
watching this on YouTube, we are wearing the Vegas outfits. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a hot one. We were living that desert life. I'm very happy we did it. Fantasy football reactions. Everybody's kind of happy with their draft. We now, Normies, as you listen to this, have completed our first week of football, a first full week, and it blew it for me. I don't know how you guys are feeling, but I'm very mad.
Yeah, Jacob, how you feeling? Yeah.
I'm feeling okay. I didn't have the best week, but I think I'm going to pull off the win against our buddy Joe. So that feels good. I can give you a little history just real quick about our league. I don't know if I've mentioned it on here before, but we started this league in 2015, I think. And so this is our 8th annual year of doing this league. And I'm very proud of us for sticking with something for so long. But it's been really fun, over the years doing this thing. So I hope we continue it for forever,
Same thing with Normies Like Us. We'll continue many more seasons, right? We have a little bit of
That's
catching
right.
up to do to catch up to the Best Friends Forever Fantasy Football League. But
That's
fun
right.
trip, and I think we're going to try to make that kind of destination draft thing just to kind of stay in touch with everybody.
Yeah.
And,
It was
It
a
is
great
a
time.
bummer that when my therapist asked me, prove you can commit to something, the evidence I can have is this podcast and our fantasy football league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm consistent. Come on.
It's a good
Of
way
course.
for friends as you get older to have something to do
Yes.
together and have a reason to get together or talk and that kind of thing. As as you get into your 30s or eventually 40s, people drift apart. So it's good to have things to keep friendships together, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And, we talk, movies, comics, video games, Marvel, right? All kinds of nerdy stuff. But fantasy football is certainly, I think, the nerdiest thing that I do. And I play D&D.
Really?
So, It is absolutely the single nerdiest thing that I partake
But-
in.
How dare you, Mike?
That's interesting that you think that, because I would argue that it's much more normie than something like D&D. Like I feel like more people
Watching
per
football is
capita,
normie. Playing fantasy
Yes, but
very
also-
seriously is very nerdy.
That's true, but at the same time, I would guess that more people in the world play fantasy football than play D&D on
I
average.
always think of that scene in
That's
Knocked
possible.
Up where Paul Rudd gets caught playing fantasy baseball, when his wife thinks he's having an affair and she's like,
Oh,
you're just a
sure.
nerd, you're just a loser. And he's like, right,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
It is the perfect avenue of football, sports jock stuff mixed with
Yeah.
nerd stuff. So it gives the nerds something to care about sports for.
And depending on how serious you are, right? If you're spending upwards of 5+ hours a week doing research and shit,
Yeah.
that's pretty nerdy, and I do that.
Oh,
'cause
and
I'm
you
obsessive.
you do the podcast, Mike. You do like the fantasy footballers, right? You're getting all
Yeah,
those
shout out
great
to fantasy
podcast.
footballers,
Shout
fantasy
out to those
pros,
guys.
fantasy headliners. There's a lot of them I don't want to divulge, so my competition doesn't get
Oh,
it. but
your sources.
I have many
Wow.
sources, and
Interesting.
usually I'm just fishing for confirmation bias for them to say you did pick a good guy, and then I'm like, all right, yeah, let's go. It's meaningless.
And Mike, how are you feeling about your team right now?
Terrible. In fact, I think I'm already.
I know you
done
had a
for the
major
season.
injury on your
Yeah.
team, right?
One of my quarterbacks, we do 2-quarterback league. Dak Prescott, he's already out. I lost my tight end, George Kittle, and I have the lowest score of the week, potentially the whole year already. So I'm
Wow.
feeling great. So great that I'm looking forward to talking about the escapism in which I've engaged in to avoid my emotions regarding fantasy football, but not loving it. But, long
That's
season.
right.
We'll see if we can turn it around.
And when we do our draft, we always have our mainstay media or movies that we play. We have the great movie Draft Day, of course.
Oh,
We
yeah,
have
Mhm,
Little
mhm.
Giants.
Perfect.
What are some other ones? Necessary
and I know-
Roughness, I think we watched.
Longest
yeah,
Yard.
we did, and I was really blowing your guys'
That's a
mind
good
with
one.
Necessary Roughness. Now, should we say too, when we were so jazzed up post our jousting extravaganza, gambling in Las Vegas,
Spain.
we came back. I know you guys wanted to talk about this, but we threw on A Knight's Tale, which
That's
I know
right.
is like a favorite across the board for the guys on this podcast.
Yeah,
right?
Hell
so
yeah,
we
hell
figured
yeah.
keep the nights going. And one quick thing, fantasy note. I lost last year. I got last place.
Ah, there it
Ooh.
is.
And they told me I have to keep it in the background of the podcast
Yes.
that we record. So
That's
there
right.
it is
That's
if
right.
you're watching on YouTube.
Wow.
So not only am I doing terribly right now, but I'm faced with a constant reminder of my previous failures. So it's a good headspace to be in, I think, for the next 16 weeks.
Got the bad
Absolutely.
mojo, man.
That's right. Absolutely, he says. The guy who's won it the most. But speaking of A Knight's Tale, and the nights spent in Vegas after the fantasy draft, let's talk about some of the Whatchas, what we've been doing since then and prior to that. Just dive in.
Yeah.
Episode 210.
Well, I wanted to ask really quick about the Excalibur thing, just really quick. What did you guys think of that? And have you had any other
Oh, yes.
experience with the medieval times type stuff?
Yeah,
You know,
let's just
I
leave with
have
that.
been to the one out here, Jacob, in
Mhm.
Anaheim, California, for Joe's birthday. I gotta say, I found them to be completely comparable. I mean, it was fucking 11 years ago at this point, but I think I remember it almost being beat for beat, and I just thought it was a hoot both times. I hope you guys did too.
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
liked it a lot. They had different sections that you could sit in based on the country, right? So we were sitting in
Yes.
Spain. So we were
Spain.
just rooting for the Lord of Spain.
Spain,
We love Spain.
Yeah.
We love it.
No, it was a blast, and the choreography is great, the acting and everything that they do, like very impressive. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the one in Anaheim. I've also been to the Pirate Dinner Adventure. Different time period, but similar thing. You get a section where you cheer for the Blue Pirate or whatever, the Blue Knight. I think the Vegas one was a little bit more extravagant, if I recall. Like there wasn't as much fire effects and crazy stuff in the Anaheim one. So I enjoyed them both, and we blew our voices out screaming Spain. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yep.
So we got
Spain.
it devolved into pro wrestling. It became very kind
Yeah.
of very fun kind of crowd interaction. So I enjoyed that a lot. One of the highlights of the trip for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to. Oh yeah, the other. So with the going out to the Knight's dinner and then we were watching Knight's Tale, right? That's like the whole deal. And I forgot my segue, so that's it. You know, we had fun with it.
Here's the thing. On my mind still is Nope, and I know we had all these conversations.
That's where I wanted to go
about
because the horses in the show. Yes, thank you.
About the horses in the show, Mike, because we were all kind of having this conversation afterwards. It was like, wow, these horses are in the middle of smoke, pyrotechnics. Right. They run 20 feet, like not even that far. What do you guys think, right? A joust is 20 feet at most.
It's a couple,
like
burst, 200 feet maybe,
gone.
But yeah, it's a small area. And
okay.
We're out on the strip. And we're saying, we're just thinking, where do the horses go after this? And we have all this Nope information. Yeah.
Right.
What is their lives? What is their, and I'm just thinking about that so much. And I'll talk about what I just think more about Nope later on in this. But then to get to the jousting of it all, and maybe to go into Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
You're watching two very basic jousts, basically. Right, there's not even that many people who kind of like really go for it. Is there 3 even?
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 passes, maybe.
I think maybe just 2. Yeah, a lot of hand-to-hand fighting post jousting, but you don't really see a lot of it. And then I was Googling good jousting movies, and Mike, you just pointed out it's like there are no other. It is just a Knight's
Tale.
Just a Knight's Tale. It's the only one.
Yeah. And Jacob, you pointed out Game of Thrones kind of. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Has some extra, but as far as movies go,
there should be more jousting movies, if you ask me.
I think so.
100% agree. I think we're going to be in the fantasy corner for a bit here because I think we do want to talk Hot D, House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, a little bit of updates, and then obviously we watched the Knight's Tale when we got back from Excalibur.
Yes.
A man can't change his stars, and I just need to say, if I'm going to get through fantasy, I need to believe that.
Mike. God damn you. The quote of that film. God damn you.
When we did get home from Vegas, like we watched it, part watched it while we were hanging out. And then when I got home, I did put it on and watched the whole movie by myself and was like, damn, what a good movie, man.
With wooden
Such
toggles.
A great cast. Yep. Heath Ledger, what's his name?
Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk. Paul Bettany. That's who I was thinking of. Just a great cast.
A lot of comic book connections or superhero movie connections. He's the Joker, baby. Yeah. We get a robot.
Alan Tudyk now plays the Joker on that Harley Quinn show, so it's very interesting to see the 2 Jokers kind of be best friends in this.
Has Paul Bettany been a Joker in anything? We have the 3 Jokers.
He's been a robot, man.
That's right.
And of course, Mark Addy. There's your Game of Thrones connection. Robert Baratheon himself is also the other lackey to Heath Ledger.
That's true.
Side tangent. The movie I watched when I got home, Jacob.
Flintstones
Viva Rock Vegas, which of course Mark Addy is the fucking Fred Flintstone.
And we watched it in Vegas. Oh my God. Incredible.
It all connects.
Very, very fitting. Yeah, we get to the hot
Mark Addy, I like him a lot, and he's kind of perfect for the fantasy genre because he's just got that British accent. He just looks like he should be in medieval times.
He could be a king. He could be the tavern keep. He could be the squire. Like he could do it all, man. Yeah, he's great.
But yeah, it's a great jousting movie. And Colin, I was reading I was reading Colin's letterboxed review of it from when he last watched it because I was just curious. And you made, I thought, a really good point. It's almost more of a high school movie than a sports movie. With very much so. Heath Ledger being the new kid. Yes. There's the jocks that are like the popular kids. There's the popular girl that he falls in love with. It all fits, right?
And the modern dance music, and then of course there is a big dance scene in the movie. And you're like, oh, this is great.
And he kind of got noticed from was it 10 Things I Hate About You or something?
Yeah.
So he's very much the high school heartthrob at this point in his career.
Absolutely.
He hasn't taken leading man. This is one of his first leading roles, I think, and I think he does a great job. And rest in peace. I love this movie so much.
And his love interest in that, Shannon Sosaman, I think your name is, and she just feels like such a 90s like high school love interest kind of character.
She's just gone. She's just gone, Jacob.
Yeah,
These
she didn't
women
do
of the 90s,
much.
They're just gone.
Well, I was looking at what actually some of the
But
cast,
she's iconic in that movie, in Knight's Tale for sure.
Totally. You might be surprised to find out, Colin. So Kate, the female blacksmith that joins his team,
the French lady, right?
You know who that she was in? She was in Breaking Bad. she played Lydia in Breaking Bad. You know, Lydia.
Whoa,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that kind of blew my mind when I looked that up.
Yeah, with the
Red
50
shoes.
gallon drums. Yeah.
Yeah. But just
Todd.
just a great movie. I think really underrated movie. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it.
Was there a movie
I
where
mean, have
Todd was
we-
a medieval soldier?
Right.
Right? I think we've seen him.
I
He's
mainly
the
know
guy
him
in
from Friday
Jungle
Night Lights.
Cruise. Yeah,
Well, right in.
Not
I think I've
medieval
seen
in that.
Todd in armor at
Yeah.
some point, but
that's fair.
if you
But
remember.
have we
Possible.
talked Heath on this podcast ever before? I mean, we did Dark Knight, right?
We haven't done a
At one
Legends
point.
Probably,
episode
yeah.
on him. We should, really.
No.
Um,
It's so, I just wonder if young people even just understand, but it really was this thing where it was our generation's James Dean. He was this guy who just was at the biggest he had ever been. He was so incredible. And I remember where I was a freshman in college. I was walking to an English class and we had TVs at Wright State. If you remember this, Jacob, down in the tunnels. Do you remember those things? And they would just play the news.
Mhm.
Everybody stopped by one. I just remember thinking, this can't happen.
Yeah. Well, remember when he first got cast in The Dark Knight, people were like, wow, what a weird choice. Because I think his early career, he reminded me a lot of early Leonardo DiCaprio, where he started as like a teen heartthrob.
mhm.
And then he's like, oh, wait, this guy's actually a really good actor. Starts doing different serious roles and stuff. And I feel
Yep.
like Heath Ledger was just at that point where he's breaking into these more serious roles. And then, obviously he passed away, but that was such a left turn of a pick for the Joker. And people are like, what, this guy, this like teen heartthrob is going to be the Joker? And a lot of people thought he was going to be a terrible choice. And then he, proved them all wrong. So
He's become the measuring stick by which all Jokers are measured, including Jack Nicholson. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Those who came before and after are all compared to that, and everyone says, if The Dark Knight's not the best Batman movie, it's certainly the best Joker movie because he's really the best thing about that. Argue with that
Totally.
what you will, but he really makes
So
that
wild.
movie. And if I'm going to introduce someone, like my favorite Heath Ledger movie is A Knight's Tale. I think he's just so charming and
Sure.
handsome, and it's got a lot of heart,
Yes.
and it's just fun. And I do highly recommend Knight's Tale if you haven't seen it. It's a great Sunday afternoon kind of lazy Sunday
Totally.
movie. It's perfect.
Sure.
And of course, he did Brokeback Mountain like a couple years after that. And that's when people are like, oh, shit, like this guy can act.
Give him an Oscar. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, got Oscar nominated or won, I can't remember, but Ang Lee, of course, directed that movie. And yeah, unfortunately, a great career cut short, and he could have had many great roles after that. But
Yeah.
Very much.
R.I.P.
Rest in peace. You're missed, but left behind, enough of a legacy that we can still enjoy it. And I'm glad we were able to tap into The Knight's Tale, and it's always a comforting rewatch for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So other fantasy stuff while we're over here, right? We have
Let's stay in it.
another week of Hot D and another week of Rings of Power. Have you guys caught up all the way? I've
Let's-
seen
now-
both.
Well, I say let's nip the one in the bud then and just say I have not watched Lord of the Rings. I will not be continuing to watch Lord of the Rings.
All right.
Jacob, you?
I did not watch the third episode. I don't know if I'm gonna continue like right away or what, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say Rings of Power. I mean, at least for us, there are people out there who are like, "Oh, this is great," right? I just think it's extremely, extremely boring. I described it as watching it feels like when you're stuck behind somebody at the grocery store or at the mall, and they're just walking super slow, and you can't get around them, and you're just like, just fucking move, just like move. The plot is so slow, and the only way
Yeah.
to describe it without spoilers really is. We're 3 hours in. I still feel like they're setting things up. Meanwhile,
Right.
in Lord of the Rings movies, we were already through the Mines of Moria and had the Urukai attack and lost Boromir, and I'm still just
Exactly.
fucking bored. So
Well,
that's
again, I think-
my rating. It's boring.
Yeah. No, I think I've brought this up a few times. Like the whole streaming thing now, it's like streaming versus movies. Movies used to be like a 2-hour to 3-hour contained thing. You'd have to tell an entire story in that time.
Even less, 90 minutes, right?
Yeah. And it could be done, obviously. Now everything's streaming, everything's drawn out, and it's like, well, why make a 2-hour movie when you can make an 8-hour series and just pad it out and stretch
8
it out?
weeks of tweeting and arguing.
Yeah. And I just feel like that's how everything's going now, from the Star Wars shows, these Marvel shows, like everything. It's just like so much content now to watch. And it's just like, remember when we just used to have movies that you could just watch a 2-hour movie and just be done with it?
No.
Back in my day, it definitely feels padded for time, much like Obi-Wan, which, we did a fan edit, me and friend of the show, Adam. There's another fan edit that's pretty popular out there, taking the 6 hours under 2. This is just, man, it's really boring. It's hard to connect with any of the characters. And what's interesting to throw it to Hot D is the way it kind of should be working, because Galadriel's so old and they're doing such a slow burn. They should be leaning on the time jumps, using Galadriel as the fixture who doesn't age in the elves, and showing how the world is changing around her and how their relationship with beings that aren't as long-lived as them is, right? Like that's
Right.
so they should be doing time jumps. Meanwhile, they're not, and Hot D is using time jumps, and their pacing is right on. So if we want to switch over to Hot D, a show that's much
Let's
more
do it.
exciting.
Now, listeners, again, spoilers for everything we're talking about, but I'm going to say Hot D especially because I know all three of us are kind of very invested in it. Mike, I'm curious. Let's continue on this thread. Your opinion. I had confessed to Jacob recently that those time jumps really bugged me at first, but now I'm like understanding that it is like the instrument of the entire show of what it's based around. Are you enjoying them?
I am, as 2 prequel series, right, that are loosely based on other literature, whether completely written clearly like the book Ice and Fire, or more the appendices, right, that we're basing it off of the prequel. Yeah, like the series that deals with just humans, where it feels like you could not do a time jump and spend 5 seasons doing it, they're doing it very effectively, and I'm now engaged with that storytelling device. Meanwhile, the thing that has, infinitely aged beings, they're not doing time jumps, and I'm extremely bored. So I'm on board with it. I know at some point they're going to become the adult versions, but so far I'm really kind of digging the time jumps, because I like the little bit of time it takes me to orient myself, with what's kind of changed now. Oh, he got a haircut, right? It's like, okay. But I think they're doing a pretty elegant job with it, Colin. I don't know how you feel about it.
I'm noticing those subtle things as well. Yes, I was saying to Jacob that, originally it just seemed like such a waste to me, because you're losing these precious moments, interactions. But now I really see that they see, no, it's this bigger picture thing of, we're catching you up to the points where these people have to make the most critical decisions of their lives. Would you say, Jacob?
Yeah, I think it's, comparing it to Game of Thrones, obviously there was less time jumps in that. It was kind of an ongoing story about all these characters that's happening right now. This show, it's based on, obviously, that Fire and Ice, which is a historical retelling that's told by different unreliable narrators. So it's kind of interesting. I think they might be doing a sort of unreliable narrator thing too. But I like the time jumps because it's like, it's all the important moments in these people's lives leading up to, like you said, these, what it's leading up to. But it's kind of bigger in scope, where it's telling this story over years and jumping, years at a time in between episodes, just to give you like the bullet points of what these people are doing in their lives, essentially.
Well, and as a viewer, you just go like, well, hold on, slow down. Isn't it more important that we see her become pregnant with this firstborn boy who will challenge the succession and go through? And these showrunners very interestingly go, no. It's much more shocking to see her pregnant with the second child, and for this boy to already be introduced in her life, and for her to have this reaction of, I'm against my stepmom, I'm against my dad now, and I'm against this fucking baby. You have to watch a character that you've sort of moved towards enjoying really kind of pivot into making these hard decisions and turns.
When Colin, you said, in our first episode review, you kind of see where things are going. It's kind of like you're not sure like how it's going to surprise you. I think that's kind of the surprise of things, is these jumps in time and being like all that stuff. This is 4 years past. And I just think it's a really interesting way to do the show.
It's almost like the Boyhood approach, right? You kind of go to all these pivotal moments throughout someone's life, like you said, the key decisions, right? And again, I'm gonna do this where Rings of Power. It's like nobody has made a single key decision hard. Like it's just all the banal day-to-day shit. They're like, what if we only made a show about the 4 years in between the interesting decisions, right? It's really bad. So Hot D, again, really doing a great job, I think, with the time jumps and the way they're executing that with the writing. And yeah, it's like a snapshot of like, all right, and 2 years later, this is how the landscape looks like. This relationship's a little tighter. This political group is a little more friction, and you're just like, okay, let's go.
Yeah,
Also,
it's such an interesting way to. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, I feel like I won, like those pools when people pick who's going to win The Bachelor.
Oh, God damn you. Every time I see
I
him,
knew
Mike,
it, man. Sir Kristen or whatever.
every time I
Kristen
fucking
Cole?
see it.
I told you
and
he's
should we
my
say-
favorite.
Well, I always
Are
knew he
we-
would be a character.
Are we all
Well, you knew.
caught up to the most recent per this recording?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is definitely
Spoilers for week
appointment
3,
viewing
something.
for me. Like, there's
Very
nothing
much
like
so.
back in the day, I used to watch football at in the fall, and then Sunday night it would be Game of Thrones night, and now I feel like we're back to that same routine, and I love it. And that's how I know it's fall.
Now, this
Yeah.
one was shocking to me, Jacob, because of all the adult stuff that occurred. It was
Yes.
less on the action because our last week we got that fantastic finale with the Crab Man. where
Spent a
we're gonna
lot
get
of
our
money on
battle and
dragons,
stuff.
yeah.
Right.
This one, we're
yeah.
pulling back. We're going to do crazy character development of let's expose this girl to the adult side of the world. And I was
Yes.
truly aghast the entire time. And to the Christian Cole of it all, Mike,
Mm-hmm.
that ending as well, I was like, there are so many webs being tangled
It's
right now.
insane,
You
right?
need to stop. You don't
Mhm.
understand what you're doing, little
Well,
girl.
think about all the pressure that she's under as a princess,
God.
as the heir to the throne. She needs to find a husband, all this stuff, and she's just like, I just want to live my life.
Am I not
I just
supposed to be
wanna-
the queen who could do whatever the fuck I want, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And again, she's pointing out the dichotomy between men and women, and how they live their lives back in medieval times and stuff, where if you were a prince, you could go have sex with a bunch of prostitutes and stuff, and no one would really care. But as a woman, you're expected to live differently and be a maiden and all this. So it just shows you.
just the low folk having the freedom, quote unquote, to do what they want, but they don't.
Yeah.
There is no freedom to that. And him, Christian Cole, saying back, I think a lot of people would trade positions with you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that
I'm
kind of
not
shows
worried.
her shelteredness of
But a
being
Princess
like, oh, I wish I could
Jasmine,
be a
right?
peasant. Yeah, so I can marry for
Privilege.
love. And then he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but like you're rich, like people are living in like mud outside, and you have like all this opulent stuff.
I'm like, the fact that I have a last name is like crazy.
Right.
It's
The
like, oh,
people that you
wow.
consider poor who live in the city are
Yeah.
actually middle class. Wait till you see
Yeah.
what's
Right.
outside of the city, bro.
It's so
Yeah.
bad.
It's so bad. Yeah.
But yeah,
what an
we see.
episode.
Yeah, it's a little bit
episode.
slower. I thought it was the slowest episode, but it's a lot of human drama, and like you said, a lot of sexuality, and her kind of exploring her sexuality, right?
Herogasm, yeah.
Yeah. So so she, her uncle, Damon, comes back,
I just
Uh,
couldn't believe it.
and I knew
didn't
this was
read
going to
that.
happen.
Right. See, I didn't read
Ah.
that with the necklace, but you kind of keyed in on it and you
No.
knew, so.
I
I
was
might have
shocked.
spoiled it for you guys a little bit, but
No.
it was kind of foreshadowed, maybe. But
Well,
yeah,
not
so
like this.
no, maybe not. But should we say, just to give a brief
Yeah, I mean,
description,
this is going to be
basically?
spoilers if you watch this. If you haven't, skip ahead about 10 minutes or so. That's it.
Yeah, they fuck around.
Yeah, they go out in the in the night, go into some salacious areas or whatever, and
Some street
yeah,
vendors
there's a little
at
bit of
first.
incest.
There is, but what's interesting is it's almost like Damon, he likes that he's kind of pulling the string, and as soon as she's like about it, he's like, oh shit, I didn't plan for this. I wanted to
Yes.
make her kind of
Yeah.
feel weird about, but
Just
he's
starting.
like,
Right.
he just fucking
wants
dips.
to be the one to expose it to her and
Mhm.
have that control. And I think he is excited by the fact of that it seems to him like, oh, she has not been ruined by anything. I am the one sort of who has the power here. But like you said,
Mm.
Mike, the second that it sort of becomes on equal grounds, or even that she asserts the dominance of, well, remember who's in charge here,
Mhm.
it kind of loses it for him.
And he just
Well,
kind
Damon-
of dips.
Yeah, he's such an interesting character to me because he's such a mixture of like sometimes he's likable and like can be charming, but he's also like a lot of times like an asshole and a bad guy, and like he's such an interesting mixture. I don't know where his character is going exactly yet. Like if he's supposed to be the hero of the story or the villain of the story or what,
Maybe neither. I mean, yeah, because like he does seem like charming, and give Matt Smith credit. I talked a lot of shit about that wig, and he is one of
Me
the most
too.
interesting characters, at least from like a moral ambiguity
Yeah.
standpoint, because he does do objectively bad things. Incest bad, right? He does bad things, but there's a complexity to his character too, and it's fascinating to watch it unfold. And and we'll see where it goes. But he clearly did not get the outcome of this situation that he was hoping for.
Yeah, he kind of breaks it off, so they don't go all the way, right? They just kind of make out a little bit.
Oh, I didn't understand that. I definitely thought they did.
No,
yeah,
because then she wants to go and talk to Kristen Cole because she gets blue-balled, so
and then
speak.
gets finished up.
Yeah, she's blue-balled. She goes back to her room and seduces her guard, Kristen Cole, which that scene I thought was like one of the most tastefully done sex scenes in all of Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really just a very like loving scene where they don't, it's not very salacious at all. It's just a love scene.
Fingers
you
interlocked.
Roll your eyes. Yes.
A foggy
when
mirror,
the showrunners are like, we're gonna do less, sexual assault stuff, and you're like, that's Game of Thrones bread and butter. Like, fuck you, good luck. But in this, you're like, oh, actually, you made a moment of genuine romance. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that whole dynamic now is weird. Go ahead, Jacob. Sorry.
Well, she's just putting Kristen Cole into a very hard spot because obviously, she seduced him. He's obviously, in love with her or whatever, but he's also her, inferior in her subject. And so it's just putting in, she has a position of power over him. So it's just very interesting too.
The messenger who takes, or I'm sorry, the bard who's performing for, what is her name again? Rhaenyra? I always say it wrong. Rhaenyra. When Alicent comes and is like, should I leave, princess? No, the queen says you should stay. That moment where that guy was like, which one do I listen to? And he was like shutting down like a robot.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to get a Christian Cole moment of the king, Rhaenyra, maybe Alicent as well. And you're just going to see him torn apart by duty here pretty soon, I'm sure.
Unfortunately, it's always the lesser privileged people that are getting the shaft in Game of Thrones, right? And I think it's not going to end well for Kristen Cole, I don't think.
In the Game of Thrones, it's the pawns that go down first, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think the highlight of that scene is, though, it is Princess Rhaenyra. Like, she is asserting her sexuality and her control over who she wants to be with, right? Which most people are not going to be down with that in the Middle Ages, but like that's the point of the scene, is she's able to choose just like a man in that time would choose who, so she's asserting a little bit of power, but there is a power dynamic between them, like you said, which is interesting, and it's going to put him in quite a pickle down the road here, especially if who knows what happens if she ends up being with child or something. I know they brought her that potion, but that now changes everything. So we'll see what happens.
That scene was wild.
Yeah, they brought her that the medieval Plan
it's
B.
It's hard to brew.
Yeah, Plan T.
What do you mean?
Plan
T.
Oh, man.
And also we find out, at the end of the episode, she's now going to have to marry Laenor Valerian, who is the son of Sir Corlys Valerian, the other...
son of the Sea Snake.
Yes,
yeah, he's the dragon rider who helped with the plan with Daemon, right?
Yes, so they're solidifying the Targaryen bloodline, also kind of mending that political dispute between Lord Corlys and the king. Very interesting stuff.
I think we're loving it. Yeah, I don't want to run too long on it, but I do think we're in a very interesting place now where even the king, he can be naive sometimes, but this episode he also shows that he gets the big picture. You are my political headache, like Rhaenyra. Like I'm trying to set you up for success, but you are like making everything fucking hard for me. Like he finally.
And also
snaps.
with the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower. He's like,
exposed.
You don't think I can see what you're doing? Like, you're putting your daughter on me. Like,
you're spying on my daughter, making rumors about her and her uncle. Fuck off,
you're not
man.
as clever as you think you are.
And I like
we
that.
We saw the city's reaction, of course, the lowborn people with the play, and that, Daemon says straight up, like, you need to publicize yourself. Like, these people do not want a girl running this kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
She says their opinion doesn't matter, and he says it kind of fucking does if you're going to rule them, So. And
Daemon, of course, how interested is he in Rhaenyra as a person, and how interested is he in marrying her to get her, to get closer to the throne, essentially.
Right, which
that's
seems
the other
like
question.
Even the whole play to hand off his crown and look like he's going to be cool about it, but then he makes the pass at Rhaenyra, and now it's like it's all political, and the Game of Thrones has begun, and I think we're just now getting into the upward momentum. It's very exciting.
Yes.
Well, can I ask one last question? I know we're wrapping up on this, and we'll get out of this, but Jacob, the king, Viserys, his injuries is that because of how badass the throne is at this time? Is that what keeps just like cutting the shit out of him?
So of course the throne is
Oh,
made
yeah.
from all the melted down swords of all the people that the Targaryens have conquered, melted with dragon fire and made into a chair, and it's just constantly cutting him as he sits on it, and he's just dying slowly from
That's for
1,000
real?
small
these
cuts
people
on the
want
yeah.
this.
That's what a great metaphor. And I do like Damon handing him the crab feeder's hammer. Put it on the chair.
Yeah.
He just calls it the
Exactly,
chair.
and that's and
chair.
Aegon the Conqueror specifically made it that way because he wanted the chair to be uncomfortable for anyone to sit in because
Amazing.
leadership is uncomfortable, right? So yeah,
Wow.
really
That's
cool
good
stuff there.
That is very
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, of the two, I mean, Rings of Power. Just wait till it's done. Maybe binge it if you hear it's good. I'll keep watching it weekly. But Hot D is appointment
Let us
viewing,
know.
like Jacob said. I think it's absolutely great.
Hell yeah.
And if you want
We
more
might be
medieval
back.
action, Knight's Tale it up. Yeah, we might be
Yeah,
back at the end of the
finale.
season. Very true.
Yeah. And I don't know how many seasons they're planning to do with this. Like, I don't know how long the story can go
Let
on
it
for.
run, baby.
Yeah, I'm into it. And the
Yeah.
only thing that's sad, I think, is that Millie Alcock and Emily Carey, who played the young Alicent and Rhaenyra, I think they're great, but they're going to be recast with older actresses pretty soon, I think.
Mhm.
Oh, and by the way, I was talking to my sister about this show, and she's loving it too. Her main complaint was she's like, why are all the Targaryens so ugly? And I was like, wait a minute. And she's like, no,
Opposite.
like Matt Smith. She does not like Matt Smith. And then she's even like Rhaenyra. She does not find Rhaenyra to be good looking. She's like, I thought the Targaryens were all supposed to be like, impossibly beautiful, kind of. That's how they're described in the books. But so she's like, why are they getting all these ugly actors? But that's her opinion.
Wild.
Yeah.
Non-conventionally featured, let's say.
Yeah.
But I think they're doing a good job. I think again they've all grown on me. The King, Rhaenyra, Matt Smith. Like I think they've all grown on me.
And she did say she liked
the
the short-haired Matt Smith a little better this episode. So.
Emo Matt,
I would agree
yeah.
with that. And
Yeah.
Mike said the same thing about wigs. All right.
Yeah.
I say let's jump out of this real quick. Let's do some other just quick wrap-ups and say, Mike, our dumb Resident Evil Netflix show was officially canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Any sad thoughts about that? Any last line?
And we saw it coming. You think you would ever watch it again, though? As goofy as it was?
And I still even recommended it to my father, and he has not watched it. And now I'm even like, don't even bother. So no, I don't think I'll ever be back, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, Colin,
Jacob,
you watched
please
that.
don't ever do it.
I've never been a Resident Evil person, but I might give it a try sometime.
Don't.
You watched that Cowboy Bebop show on Netflix,
Yes.
right? And that got
Yes,
canceled
yes.
like immediately after it came
And that
out.
I was heartbroken by, but
Yeah.
but same fan reaction, Jacob, where it's immediate that people are just like, I disapprove of this existing.
Right. Well, sometimes people are a little too quick to hate on things just because it's different than the source material or something. With this, it's like it seemed like they changed a lot about what makes Resident Evil, so it's kind
Very
of doomed
much.
to fail from the beginning. But I don't know why they can't just adapt the story that people want from the
Excuse
the
me,
games.
Jacob. It was Resident Evil. It had Doberman dogs in it. So.
Oh, of course.
There's a
It just seems like there's never been a faithful adaptation of the game story.
Like just
you
the
say
game,
that
yeah.
right to Mila Jovovich.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah, they haven't done it. We talked about that on the episode. They should just do the Resident Evil 1 storyline and then Resident Evil 2, like Mansion, Spooky Mansion, but they never will.
Yeah.
They're cowards.
or just skip to Resident Evil 4. Everyone liked that game and that story.
Well, now
right?
they're remaking that. You could do Resident Evil 4, but then
Yeah.
what do you call it? Anyway,
Just make it live action.
Resident Evil Village getting DLC in October. Looking forward to that. I guess it's a quick watch and note. Very looking forward to that. Resident Evil Village, new stuff coming down the pipe. So I'm excited for that. At
Two
least.
other episode wrap-ups that we've done. Thor: Love and Thunder, now streaming on Disney Plus, post their dumb Disney Plus day, whatever that bullshit is. And Jurassic World, whatever that third one's called, is also streaming on Peacock.
And
So go ahead,
Morbius.
Normies.
is streaming.
We have not. Excuse me. We have not done a Morbius episode.
You didn't hear our
Don't say his name
Morbius
more than
episode?
3 times or he'll appear.
Oh no, Normies.
Matt Smith
look
is
at
already
our
too
feed.
close.
Oh no, he's
Try to
morbid
find
out.
Jacob's secret Morbius episode. It's 3 hours long. It's just him. It's a live
It's just me
commentary. He watches
morbing
it
it out.
twice.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
Yeah. Love and Thunder, I think, pretty mids. We agreed. Dominion, I
Yeah.
think, is the worst Jurassic
But
Park
let me ask you
movie,
this,
probably.
Mike. You saw both of those. Are you going to rewatch any of them?
No, never.
Okay.
Well, the only thing I heard about the Jurassic world is that there's a director's cut that's supposedly better
Right.
than the theatrical cut.
Oh,
So you
okay.
might want to rewatch it just for that.
Yeah, no. Even though J.
No.
Bayona, my favorite Jurassic director, he did
Mike.
Rings of Power. He's let me down there too. So I
Quiet.
can't even
I
watch
dare
Fallen Kingdom anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stinkers. Take a
All
quick
right.
break, maybe hop on some final other little what we've been watching. Second segment.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, where you're doing a special listen to an episode called a Whatcha, where your hosts are just letting you know what they're watching. We just wrapped up top, talking up what's been happening and some things we've done in prior episodes. Go back and listen to those full ones if you want our opinions.
Mhm.
But now we're just going to kick it off with going around talking about what we're watching. Mike, whatcha?
Wow. Okay. Well, I see some notes. I'll just do a very short one to kick it off. Cobra Kai came out. Obviously, big fans. I watched the entire series in one night, and next week I think we're going to be back to talk about the Quicksilver method of it all. So, very
Oh my
excited to
God!
talk about it.
Surprising no one that you watched it that fast, and Normies
Yeah.
shouldn't
No.
surprise you at all if
No.
you're a regular listener of this podcast that we're going to be covering it again.
Look, I
Of
stream
course.
hard, I stream fast, and I stream with no mercy. Okay.
Now, Jacob, did you watch any of this yet?
I haven't yet. Just been watching other things, but I'm excited to dive into that. And yeah, get back
10
into it.
episodes,
fought it
about
off.
35 minutes each. So
And Mike, they're not hour longs. That surprises me every time I turn on a new season, where I'm like, these things are 30 minutes. I'm gonna fucking fly.
Yeah, short
through
and
this.
sweet.
yeah, makes
Yeah.
it nice. Yeah, it's a good watch.
I did the first 3 already, Mike. I've gasped twice and cried once.
Uh-huh.
So just to set you up there, Jacob.
It is
you're
the
re-
most. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And how would you compare it? Like, would you say this season's better than last season, or how would
I
what do you think?
was so nervous with how last season ended that things were going to take too long for this new one or play out in certain ways. The way that it has started with these 3 I've watched, I have been incredibly satisfied.
Yeah, and I'll just say, having seen it all, no spoilers. It's worth it. It maybe is a little slower to start. Like once episode 3 is done, I think you're locked in, and the next 7 are really, really great.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm going to finish it tonight.
And it kicks the shit out of Rings of Power. And it's one of the
Wow.
most tightly written cinematic universes. Like if you love
Yeah.
the Karate Kid universe, they make all the callbacks, and like no
Right.
single line of dialogue is ever thrown aside. They mine it for all it's worth, and they do it again this season. It's incredible. So I'll talk about it next
Well, that's
week more.
something that's something that kind of blows my mind every season, because every season I'm like, how are they going to top this season? And then they bring in, all these new characters and make them interesting. It's just like, and they're like phasing out older characters like our guy that's going to be Blue Beetle and everything.
Mhm.
And they're bringing in new blood. But I'm just like, how are they going to top, like last season, they brought in Terry Silver. How are they going to top that? But
Mhm. They
I'm
do.
excited, man.
Here's the thing,
Yeah.
though. It's
They
very
do.
hard to write an MCU, right, where you need to know 100 years of comics history. But if someone just said, your job is to watch 3 movies over and over again,
Right.
I could probably handle that. So
Yeah.
And you're arguing with people why the 3rd one is the best one, and they're like, you're
Yeah.
hired.
there's only 72 total characters. What the hell could you really
Look,
get
are they
wrong?
bringing in? Well, don't spoil it for me. But are
Yes.
they bringing in Mike White, or what is his name? The bad boy of karate.
I'm sorry, are you asking about Karate's bad boy?
Mike Barnes?
Mike Barnes. Yeah.
Karate's bad boy? Snake, maybe? If you want to be a bad boy, he's the one to be bad with. We'll have to tune in and see, okay?
Oh
But
my God,
I'm
Mike.
excited. I'm
what
excited.
a season. So that's it. High recommend. And catch us
Yes.
next week. Finish it between now and then if you want to have a spoiler discussion with us. So yeah, Jacob, how about you? What's your whatcha?
Well, yeah, I haven't started that yet. I've just been looking for, I'm like, what am I going to watch on Hulu? I'm looking on Hulu. Well, one thing is Reservation Dogs. I know, Mike, you watched that. We could talk a little bit about that.
Mhm.
But just recently, I started watching this show. It's on there. It's called Pam and Tommy. Have you guys heard of this show?
Love Pam
Yes.
and Tommy.
This
I've
is, of
heard of
course,
it, not seen
about.
it.
Yes, this is a true crime kind of story about Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee, the famous sex tape that was stolen and released on the internet and everything. And it's an 8-part miniseries, and it's so interesting and it's so well done. Of course, you have Sebastian Stan as Tommy Lee. now
Good
I'm just
choice,
blanking on
by
the
the way.
name.
Lily
of,
James.
Lily James,
as,
who plays Pamela
Pam
Anderson,
Anderson.
and
Now, Jacob,
they both
are
knocked
you
it out of
done
the
yet?
park. I just finished it last night,
Hmm.
and they both knock it out of the park in terms of the
Wow.
transformation of becoming these two people and looking so much like the real people. It's insane, and acting like them. So they do a great job. Seth Rogen plays the guy that stole the tape, and he does
Mhm.
What a
great as well.
performance.
And it kind of just
so
humanizes
strange.
all the angles of this. Like you think that this is going to be the bad guy because obviously stealing a sex tape without people's consent, very bad thing to do.
Mhm.
But it kind of shows you where he's coming from, like why he did it, and it just humanizes. And it obviously Pamela Anderson, the number one kind of victim of the whole story, it humanizes her, and it's just so well done. It's very interesting.
Interesting. That to piggyback off that really quick, I watched a documentary series on Netflix called "The Most Hated Man on the Internet." It's about the guy who started that revenge porn website. Is anybody up or whatever?
God.
Despicable human being, but just seeing people, like the Seth Rogen character, right? But this guy is uniformly the villain, and it's just a fascinating.
Right.
Mike, in this
crime
show,
thing.
you see someone discover how to create internet pornography, and it is just a fascinating glimpse for someone our age, I would say, Jacob, to just be
Yeah.
like, Jesus Christ, I do remember when things were like that.
Right. Well, of course, this is the mid 90s, so obviously internet is still in its like dial-up phase. Video quality isn't the best, but the advent of streaming sites and that kind of thing, you see all that, how that started. And with the Seth Rogen character, he's kind of just this like kind of put upon handyman who's been screwed over by life so many times that he just kind of snaps and does this one bad thing, and karma, and you kind of see how karma affects him, and his life basically gets shit on from that point. And it's just how this one event kind of ruined three people's lives to the degree that it did. It's just fascinating.
Does it have a satisfying climax? Would you say, Pam and Tommy?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the transformation, I mean, I know
Yeah,
they had
Tommy
like,
fucks you, Mike.
yeah,
I
like
can
with
handle
Tommy
it.
Lee, obviously he has tattoos all over his body, so they had to, stick these tattoos on Sebastian Stan, and
That's incredible. I agree with
Yeah.
you. It's kind of undersung in comparison to this next one, but Jacob, the Emmys are happening right now. How does Lily James not win?
Oh, she absolutely should. She, knocked it out of the park. And I'm not that familiar with her from other things, but just the transformation. I mean, I'm sure they both watched, hours of interview footage with the two of them to try to, nail the voice and the inflections and everything. But it's just
look,
uncanny.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not until you see her in Canada flashbacks with brunette hair that you even understand this is the actress you're looking at.
Yeah.
And if you were
of course she had to
around-
wear like a fake forehead and obviously like breast implants and all kinds of just insane makeup, and all that stuff should win Emmys, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, if you were alive, or, around that time, like there was not probably a bigger star, right? Pamela Anderson is like one of the top names in the entertainment
of
industry.
the 90s for sure. And
Yeah.
it covers
You're gonna
kind of
watch,
her
meteoric rise and fall, Jacob. You're gonna
Yeah.
watch Barbed Wire, right?
That's what I was going to say, because it covers like, she's in Baywatch at this point. She's, obviously Baywatch was a very watched show during the time, but she wanted to break into the movie business. So she made this movie called Barbed Wire, which is a comic book adaptation. And it's the movie itself is very strange because it's like a retelling of Casablanca with Humphrey Bogart, where she's playing the Humphrey Bogart role as this like femme fatale character, but it's in post-apocalyptic, like 2017.
It's got like heavy metal.
Yeah,
kind of
it's very much.
It's very strange, but I do want to watch it now because of this movie, or because of this show. So
Fascinating.
Yeah.
You think Seth Rogen would need a lawyer after, like during these proceedings? And if so, do you have anybody, Colin, that he could call upon?
Better call Saul.
Nice.
Is that who he should call?
Probably needs a criminal lawyer. Yeah, I think you're right.
Probably needs a criminal lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching that. That's kind of my big adult drama wrap up. I watched that finale. I thought that was just a fantastic end. I think I kind of had said in a previous episode that, I even think maybe better than Breaking Bad.
That's one I need to catch up on. I watched the first couple seasons of that, but I've kind of got away from me a little bit, so I need to catch up on that one for sure and finish it.
Gotcha. See, I was thinking more like, like a super lawyer.
Oh,
was
I
what
see
was
the angle you're
thinking.
going now. Well, I prefer this, Mike. Yes, Jacob and
Yeah.
I have been enjoying She-Hulk. Now, you have not gotten around to this yet. She-Hulk
No, I was watching
Attorney
too
at
much
Law.
Karate Kid.
That's right. You will, and Normies, we will do an episode on this when it ends. And Mike, I think you'll adore it as much as we have been.
Nice, yeah. I'm looking forward to watching it. I know you guys say it's quite funny. I enjoy seeing the bus and bench ads in Los Angeles for it as if she's just a regular lawyer in the Los Angeles area. That's very fun.
Abogado.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know, it's got kind of a
Abogado.
mixed reception on the internet so far, and I kind of find it strange because obviously a lot of it's the same, like, oh, you know, go woke, go broke, or whatever. But there are a lot of people that saying like they don't like the writing, they don't like the humor, or whatever. And I just kind of don't see where they're coming from with that because it is. I mean, sure, if you don't like the Marvel humor, you might not like it. But to me, this is the show that should be the most comedic. It's like a more comedic story. It's more episodic, but it's just about this lawyer who's just trying to be a regular lawyer, but also happens to be turned into a Hulk, you know, against her will, kind of. And now she's like, well, I don't want to do all this superhero stuff, but I guess I have to now. And it's just, you know, she's just trying to live her life. And I think it's, you know, very endearing.
Yeah, I love the premise. You know, it's like she wants nothing to do with the super life, but she kind of has no choice. I think that's very fun. She just wants to be a top lawyer, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
like she gets hired at this big firm, but then she finds out it's for the superhero law division. And part of her contract is that she has to be She-Hulk in the office at all times, basically.
Yeah, we didn't hire you. We
Wow.
hired She-Hulk, you dummy.
Yeah.
It's very true to She-Hulk comics. The current runs by this guy named Charles Soule, who did more of the bent of what if it was a legal comedy. They're obviously parroting like Ally McBeal, again, talking about 90s things, right, Jacob?
Right.
I don't know. I just, you know, when you say the mixed reception, I really think it is just the vocal minority. I just think it's that, you know, insane.
But even people
subset.
that I, you know, sometimes will agree with on stuff like different YouTubers or whatever, not the ones that you're thinking of, but just like some that are usually pretty fair about stuff. They just don't like the writing, I guess, or they don't like the humor. Yeah. So I'm not
Completely
sure
written
why,
off.
but to me, this is one of the best Marvel shows that I've seen.
Yeah, I would be ready for something that is tonally different than just Hawkeye or, you know, like the punch 'em ups, you know.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if people are just
like this is a completely different genre, like WandaVision was.
Yeah, it seems like people are just taking things too seriously or something. Like, just think of it like a, you know, a Saturday morning cartoon type show. Like, you don't take those shows super seriously, but
no, that's
you know,
a
it's
way
like
to
what?
put it.
Yeah,
They got 20 other movies worth of baggage that they're bringing into it. Maybe leave it at the door.
Relax.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's a grand old time, and the episodes are like half an hour long. They're not super long or anything. It's just very easy breezy, and it's a good watch.
Were any of us big on Tatiana Maslany before this? Anybody here an Orphan Black fan? I have never watched that.
I've never watched it. I always like when she's in stuff, but I never got around to watching Orphan Black.
She's very funny on every podcast I listen to because I guess she's got a huge improv background from Regina, Canada. So I do appreciate that about her.
Nice.
Yeah,
give it a shot. You guys been speaking.
It's got a lot of it's got tons of cameos from different you know, MCU characters. Wong, everybody's favorite. Yeah,
Abomination's been in it, stuff like that. You know, he was hanging out with Wong, I've heard. So I'm looking forward. Now that I finished Karate Kid, I can go to the second best written connected universe, the MCU, and give this a try.
There you go.
Right. I have another quick show that is sort of connected to another universe. That's just quick shout out. What We Do in the Shadows is back. I've been enjoying it. The show, I've never seen the movie still. You know, it's a Taika joint. I know Love and Thunder you didn't love, but shout out to What We Do in the Shadows. I think it's very funny. One of the best shows.
That's another one that I've been watching too, Mike, and along with Reservation Dogs, which I want to talk about a little bit too. But
another Taika show.
Yeah.
And
this one I did just start What We Do in the Shadows recently. I'm on season 2 now, so I'm kind of going through the old seasons, and it's a really fun show.
Nice. And if you're listening, shout out to Kyle Newacek, my college editing teacher. He worked on Workaholics. Now he's a producer, director on What We Do in the Shadows.
Amazing.
Congratulations, sir. Good job. You know.
Nice.
Thanks for the Foot Fist Way DVD. Proud of you.
And I love the the character named Colin Robinson, who's an energy vampire.
Colin
that just
Robinson's
sucks
the
the
best.
energy out of people. Yeah, I love
Mark
that.
Porsche,
Yeah,
you know, from everything, a guy you've just
course.
seen in like every project.
That
yeah,
fucking guy.
he's great.
Yeah, he's great.
And everyone just hates him because he
That's
just
fucking
comes.
gay.
Can we do
Yeah.
the hop to the other Hulu joint though? Then the other Taika joint,
Yeah,
Reservation Dogs, quickly,
Dogs.
you know?
So this is one that was created by. So I think this is one of the ones where Taika kind of puts his name on it, but it's less creatively involved. But the other guy, Sterling Harjo, it's kind of his life story because he's a Native American, grew up on reservations, that kind of thing, and also I believe most, or if not all, of the writing and directing team of this is like Native, people of Native ancestry and stuff. So it's very, drawn from their lives. But it's obviously about 4 kids growing up on a Native American reservation in Oklahoma and just living that life and kind of the struggles they're going through. Their other friend who committed suicide a year before the show started, so they're kind of dealing with the trauma of that. And just a really good show. Like the chemistry between all the actors is just really solid, and it has a strong sense of like atmosphere and place of just like being there.
Yeah, it's a real like kind of coming of age. All coming of age is like dealing with identity and your place in society, but then there's the backdrop kind of the Native heritage and how does that all tie in and stuff. I think it's really well done. And if Ty could just put his name on it to help it get off the ground, I think that's all it needed because the show really stands on its own legs. And I've seen it
I think
episode. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's
great that
wonderful.
he does that. And, yeah.
Really,
I don't know how
to
he might
try catfish and fry bread. I've never had fry bread before, but now I want to know what it is.
That's so bad for you.
Hey, give it a roll though.
I'm already like appropriating, like, they call people shit asses all the time.
I love shit asses. I like Skoda, and I shouldn't maybe steal the lingo, but they have it's a very cool kind of vibe with these kids. I do appreciate hanging out with them every week.
Yeah, and some the way they kind of cast some of the smaller characters very interesting. Obviously, a lot of Native actors and stuff, like Gary Farmer, who's one of the most well-known Native actors from 70s through the 90s. Like he was in Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man and that kind of thing. And so
Zahn McLaren.
Yeah, so really good stuff. And even like TikTok stars and stuff. They're like you remember the guy that was skateboarding, listening to Fleetwood Mac and drinking the cranberry juice and everything.
Dogface?
Yeah, he's on the show
Dogface.
Now. Season 2, he's in it, and
he's
just
in it. Like he's
in
like
it. Yeah,
acting.
He's like he's like a minor character, side character.
He's doing good. And then even Amber Midthunder is in an episode of season 2 as a guest star. So yeah, they're killing it with the supporting characters and everything.
She's really good in that episode. She's really funny.
Really? Does she hunt people? Is that what it's about?
They're doing a like a conference about like owning your heritage and decolonialization, and she's like the city native. So she's like from the city and like trying to like act like she's part of the shits,
Yeah.
It's very funny.
She's like a social media influencer.
Yeah. But she's kind of out of touch, it's very good.
Yeah. And just the way they've expanded the supporting cast, I think, and like connected everything. It's like really well done, I think. And they're like just building this whole kind of world that you can.
Yeah, it's fun slice of life for sure. And similar, like, Prey, Amber Midthunder, another Hulu joint, Hulu's doing some interesting stuff. I have a quick anecdote about Prey. I told my dad to watch it. Then he texts me. He says, "Hey, I'm watching that Prey movie." And then he starts texting me all this stuff. Like, they're attacking the park office now. I'm like, well, yeah, but what do you think of the dog? He's like, what dog? And I'm like, oh, my God. There's a movie called Prey on Netflix, Prey. And it's about these 4 guys that get lost in the woods and then hunted by some crazy lady. And I'm like...
So he's watching the wrong movie?
The wrong Prey. Yeah, because he was on Netflix, not Hulu. And they're both Prey.
Where's the alien?
Yeah, and I'm like, you didn't see a predator throughout the whole movie? Like, what did you watch?
That's amazing.
Anyway, that's my anecdote.
But did he end up watching the other Prey?
This was yesterday as of recording when he texted me, so he's going to. But I was like, I told you to watch. Anyway, don't get Netflix and Hulu mixed up. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Colin, you have any shout outs you want to show on the streaming side?
I'll give one last one. Here's kind of my obsession at the moment. I needed a quick show before Cobra Kai, and a podcast Jacob and I enjoy called Get Played. It's a video game podcast. Stars the incomparable Heather Campbell, Nick Weiger, Matt Apodaca, just going through video games. They have a Patreon spinoff podcast now called Get Animated, where they do a watch along with anime. I'll throw a comedian $5 1 month a year. I have a million Patreon podcasts, so why wouldn't I do this one? Got to the point where they finished their first show. I thought I'll jump on now and just go back and listen to them all.
Oh,
and that first show they cover is
Yes.
Evangelion. I have never, ever in my life watched Neon Genesis Evangelion.
You've never
I
gotten
think
a fucking
Jacob-
robot?
Well, I
Get
get
the
down
robot.
with some robot mecha animes or mangas or stories, but
Mm-hmm.
this was kind of my first one of this. Jacob, you have, I think, recommended this in the past to people when
Yes.
this all hit Netflix, right?
Yes, it's on Netflix. It's a great, obviously one of the classics of the anime genre or medium. Everyone, loves this show. But yeah. So what do you think, Colin? You started watching it?
Mike, you have obviously seen this, I would imagine. Okay, and just watched it all. Now, my brother's the big anime person in our house. He's watched this as well. We did not watch this together. But on this podcast, Jacob, they make the claim of, well, this was the one that won the West, which I disagree with. To me, that's Dragon Ball. I remember being there, like
To me,
being
it's Cowboy
a kid.
Bebop.
Dragon Ball Z, Cowboy Bebop.
I mean, Dragon Ball for sure, but I watched
But
Cowboy
just a
Bebop back on
little
Toonami back in the
afterwards was
day.
but Toonami, but there wouldn't be a Toonami,
That's
in
true,
my
yeah.
opinion, if there
I
wasn't
never-
Dragon Ball.
Yeah, Dragon Ball. I never got on the Dragon Ball boat. That's kind of a blank, blank spot for me in terms of my popular culture knowledge.
We'll
I
do
guess.
a superheroes episode. We'll go
Yeah.
see that new movie, whatever.
Yeah.
No, I need to clarify. Are we
Yeah.
saying Dragon
But
Ball
please, I
or
want your
Dragon
opinion
Ball
on it.
Z?
But here's the thing.
There's two separate series, and I think
I-
Z is
Right.
more popular than
But Mike,
Ball.
Yes.
here's the scenario to my truth. As a
Yes.
suburb kid in Ohio who would walk home
Similar.
to his friend Mark Birchnell's house and they would go, this anime is on, let me teach you what an anime is. It was Dragon Ball Z, and then he would get the tapes of Dragon Ball, and we would watch those at his house.
Noted. Okay, so what's on TV most accessible is Z, and I think I would
For
agree.
sure.
Z won the West. It has more cool fighting than Dragon Ball.
Yes.
Dragon Ball's a little goofier,
Yes.
but I think Z. It's almost the Dragon Ball franchise is almost its own genre. It has such a unique art style, Akira Toriyama, right? That the more traditional anime show, because even Cowboy Bebop, not really anime. It's kind of transcends genre.
Right.
Evangelion would be that sweet spot of like traditional animation
Yes.
style, storytelling,
Okay.
and themes.
Well, Dragon Ball
Yeah.
Z,
High
when that was
school.
on as a kid, I didn't even think of it as anime because I didn't
No,
know what anime
exactly.
was. It was just a
Yes.
cartoon that was on
Because
TV.
it didn't
only
exist
reason.
yet, and then
Yeah.
everything after it, people were like, that's an anime, and I'd go, what's an anime? They'd go, Dragon Ball, and I'd be like, oh, okay.
Right.
right,
but
but more traditional. Like if you
Evangelion-
think of Gundam Wing, and Evangelion,
Mike,
they have a
that
similar
was
style.
Toonami. That was all
Right.
Toonami. That's when that was coming.
Right.
So back to Evangelion.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, okay.
Zami
Here's my
Koku,
thing.
Natenshi Yoni,
Mike, how dare you?
Afureta wa Shinji
One of the great,
Arinare.
Fly me
one of the
to
great theme
moon.
songs
Yeah.
of all time.
It's-
Yes.
But all of it.
Cruel
So here's
Angel
the thing.
Thesis. Anyway, you go ahead,
Here's,
Colin.
Yes.
Take it away.
here's my unfortunate thoughts. Is that I started this, and Heather Campbell is just saying these things about how it changed her life. It changed my life. You don't understand how important it is. When
Right.
people say that, it's like, I will
It's a
buy
lot of
in.
pressure. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure, though, Jacob. And then you're watching it, and you're going like, I can immediately tell how important this is. And I'm texting my brother and going like, I don't need to know that this thing gives me answers. But 3 episodes into this, I just need to know that these poor kids get answers.
Well,
And his response was, well.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. I have now seen the whole series. Like I said, I wanted something short. 30-minute episodes, 20 episodes. That's nothing. And
Yeah.
all on Netflix. And I've done what the watch along that they does, the
Right.
end of Evangelion, which is the movie
The
that of
movie.
The
course wraps up
OVAs
the
and
whole
stuff.
thing.
Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
So having truly seen it all now and not having been able to verbalize how I feel or say out loud to any of them, I want to say to both of you that Evangelion makes me wish that I didn't have any more awareness or like understanding of the world, because I realize now the more of that I get, the more unhappy I will be. And that this show like made me unhappy basically by making me more aware of life.
Yes. Well, it's an interesting show, right? It draws you in with giant robots and stuff, but then it's really a show about, you know, a sad kid. And
the
It's
pressure
about
that
that.
society,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
metaphorically or, you know, literally.
But
yeah.
by the end of it, a god is asking you the question of, isn't your individual sadness selfish compared to the happiness of the collective of utopia? And you're like,
the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, Colin.
No,
Yeah.
but then
Or
just
the
to
one.
say that, like, truly, Normies, this is not a spoiler or anything. I would urge everyone to kind of take this journey, because it is almost therapeutic. But by
Yeah.
the last image of the movie, where you are watching your hero choke a woman, because that is the way that he is sort of testing that reality is truth, because to feel improper feelings is to know that you are alive. And for him to stop and he cries and she says pathetic, and then it cuts to black and it says the end.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
It's
Yeah.
a real
like I probably took like 30 minutes of silence yesterday just sitting by myself to just like go over what I felt about what I just watched.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's really heavy. And obviously the end of the show had famously it lost a lot of funding towards the end of it, so they just kind of had to that's why the last couple episodes are like so strange and abstract, because they just lost funding for like animation and stuff.
I mean, the movie
like
is
a clip
shooting
show.
live footage by the end of it.
Yeah. But it starts as like, well, you think you know what's going on with like giant robots fighting angels
It's
or
like
whatever.
a kaiju show. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But then it just goes into just weird existential places that you don't expect, and it's insane, right?
It's
Now-
cerebral as hell.
The other cerebral thing, of course, that I have not been able to stop talking about or thinking about, and I said at the top of this episode, is Nope. Nope has very much stuck with me. Now, I have found an interview where Jordan Peele says, again, spoilers, everyone, that Jean Jacket is directly inspired by maybe the 11th angel in Evangelion, which is just an eyeball with big extending things that constantly morphs and changes the entire time.
What a fucking nerd. I'm pulling it up right now. Because we do know he stole the Akira motorcycle shot, you know?
Yeah.
He's an
Obviously,
anime nerd,
he's an
animation
anime
nerd.
fan.
He likes gargoyles, you know, he likes animation.
But to me, just what that does to me is like, I just want to know what Jordan Peele then thinks of Evangelion, because I would like to know what he got out of seeing the entire journey all the way to the end. And for just him to say, Colin, this is what it was about to me, because I don't believe that anybody knows what it's about, I guess, or I trust myself to know.
Yeah.
Is that why he has a character named Angel in Nope? The plot thickens, right? There's also something about, you know, Shinji, right? You know, I know you feel sad about the thing, but if you do the thing, a lot more people are going to feel better about it. And then you have
Just don't run
OJ,
away.
who kind of doesn't want to be the hero, but he kind of fucking has to be.
Right.
Sort of similar thought processes, or at least moral quandaries that you know the creators want you to ponder with these shows. You know, the person who doesn't want to be the hero sometimes has to be, even at great personal cost.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what Evangelion is a young kid who doesn't want to get in the robot, but everyone's telling him to get in the robot for the good of society.
So,
yeah.
And Mike, I have watched Gundam. You know, Gundam is about your duty. It is about the military.
It's military.
I have seen Big O. Big O is about the mystery, right? Big O is about the, like, you know, what the fuck is going on? And it's basically Batman. I have watched Gurren Lagann, where it is about a metaphor of, like, creation and harnessing your self-worth. But this is the first one where a big mech show is like, but why do you get in the robot?
Right.
And it's like, well, what do you mean, why do I get in the robot? It's like, I have to save the world. It's like, why do you think you have to save the world? And I'm just like, hey, leave that kid alone. And then all these other people are saying all this other stuff about their own self-worth, and then he's jacking off on top of the nude body, and he's crying because he did that.
I'm so fucked up.
I am.
Yep. classic anime frames.
I am out loud saying
The most
Jacob,
expensive
like,
cell that you can purchase.
I can't understand this. Like, I'm gone. There's nothing for me anymore.
Yeah.
Right. If I may,
Yeah.
make an effort to interpret some intention here, right? Because if you think about the traditional anime shonen style story, which shonen stories are young boy protagonist stories, young adolescent, like coming of age. I'm going to be the hero, very Naruto, right? The young kid who believes in himself and the power of friendship, and we can get it done. And then this is a show that's essentially opening like that and then deconstructing that genre in a way that's like, what do adolescents and young adults really deal with, like mentally, psychologically? So it takes this trope-filled archetype of a shonen story and then just says, life is fucking hard and it's not, believe it, I want to be the next Hokage. It's like, why do you want to be the Hokage? Right.
Yeah. Well, instead, it's a creator goes like, okay. So the first thing you need to do about my manga or my anime is, obviously we all inherit the trauma of our parents, right? And you're like, whoa, hold on, this is where we're starting?
Right.
Nope. Right. Everybody grieves different. Yeah. It's wild. And to see stuff where like he doesn't want to, then there's like athletic kid who's like popular and like wants to do it, and what happens to him, and it's like,
he's
Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
The person who should be most qualified, right? Nope.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why does it need to be like these 14-year-old kids that are the ones in the robots? Is that ever explained?
No. Other than the fact that truly, to me, with Genji, right, the father figure, I think this is never directly stated about the power of the Evas. Obviously, we know the souls that are inside them, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
but I truly believe that they do feed off of your negative emotions, because when they're achieving synchronicity or whatever and trying to get that 100% synchronization rate, they never say like, oh, he's thinking happy thoughts, or they never give like a motivation for it. Truly, I think they pick Shinji because they're like, this kid's fucked up. Only someone who's fucked up can fucking pilot this thing. Put this asshole in here.
And how fucked up is he because his dad is a big piece of shit for his whole life, right? How much of that is engineered, right?
Yes, and he's doing it on purpose, Mike.
Man, crazy. No, it's a fascinating show. It's a downer, and it's dark, and it's wild to take the shonen genre and then just flip it on its head like that. And like, what does real trauma look like for teens, right?
Totally. And I think the crazy thing about it is that when it was airing, it was like a super popular show in Japan, and just to have like such a weird ending. Yeah.
Well, and Jacob, by like the 12th episode, which the one we were just talking about, where they are killing the kid inside the ship basically as he's possessed and turns over, it ends with there's so much blood sprayed over these skyscrapers and stuff. They got notes and they were like, you've lost your time slot. Yeah, like we made a mistake. You can't. They're like, oh, you caught us. Like basically actually was like, whoops.
Yeah.
No one watched it before air. Like
yeah, Jesus Christ.
Truly.
So we don't talk a lot of anime on this podcast. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't watch a lot of it. So to me, to pick one like this and to go like, Jacob's recommended that before. My brother watched that in college. That's kind of old. I kind of prefer these maybe even modern sort of like other Netflix animes that they have, like a Castlevania, which we argue about if that's an anime, or some other modern ones.
Yeah.
Take the dive. I would just just even say to anyone who, I love David Lynch. I mean, I just did not expect this to be surreal. If you are looking for something with dreamlike narrative, imagery, storytelling that makes you ask internal questions about yourself, Neon Genesis Evangelion. I wouldn't have thought it either.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an off-kilter show, and I think the one thing on Netflix is that they kind of fucked up the English dub, or like they lost some of the nuance of certain lines and stuff with the English dub. So there was kind of a controversy when it came out on Netflix at first. But if you don't care about that kind of thing, you can watch the English dub or just watch the Japanese dub with, English subs and whichever you prefer. But
they pulled the final song. They don't have the rights to Fly Me to the Moon, the Frank Sinatra song, of course. And every episode ends with a different crazy cover of it. They are important, I would say, because so many episodes end with Shinji in the midst of a complete mental break screaming out, and then it goes, fly me to the moon. Like, you do need that transition. So I would say hit pause, pop that up on YouTube, which is what I started doing.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, if you're a fan of more modern stuff, maybe in this vein, like an Attack on Titan, where it's like still like this young
I might do
adult,
that next.
but I'm going to be a hero, and there's giants in it, right? This is like they still want to be the hero. This is like I don't want to be. I want to be a teenager, and I think when you're at that age, right? Like looking at this purely in metaphor, it's like that's the age at which you are dealing with identity and what your place in society is and what feelings are appropriate or not, shit like that, right? You're growing up, and there's all these forces influencing you, and it's a perfect kind of way to do it in this David Lynch anime, as you put it, Colin. It's a fascinating work. There's nothing quite like it.
No.
So check it out. It's definitely I say it's required viewing in the anime space alongside Cowboy Bebop, Dragon Ball Z, and Akira, at the very least, as required reading. Yeah. Oh, speaking of reading manga, real quick, I've started reading Berserk. Shout outs to Elden Ring. I'm only about 10 books in, but it's good. It's dark. It's about trauma too. It's
that's another.
What if Shinji was
one
an
that gets
adult
really
and went through trauma
surreal and weird?
Yeah.
Now we just talked about a shonen. Now this is what you would call maybe the greatest or most well-known seinen, right?
Yeah,
This is for teens. Seinen.
Seinen is more. It's
Seinen.
more of a.
It's more violent.
PG-13/R leaning. Yeah. Where
and it's kind of
is shonen normally.
In the medieval fantasy genre, but also way more like weird and fucked up in a lot of ways too.
This is the work that directly inspired Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden Ring. There's a lot of creatures and designs, weapons ripped straight
one
out
armor
of
in Castlevania.
Yeah, there's also an armor and a complete enemy. One of the most famous bosses in Dark Souls is there. So I'm fascinated to jump into it. I don't want to spoil anything or get too into it, but that's another kind of related anime trauma.
Mike,
story.
would you ever think about doing Chainsaw Man? Now that's a manga that's so popular and just about to get an anime for the first time. So maybe even something people could jump in on that I know nothing about.
Friend of the show, X Kaita, recommends Chainsaw Man. It's a pretty wild show. Or book, manga will be a show. So yeah, I would check out Chainsaw Man. I've only ever read 2 mangas, Death Note and 3. Then JoJo 5, which is now airing on Netflix, I believe. Stone Ocean.
Stone Soup.
Yeah, Stone Soup, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and now Berserk. So
sure.
Yeah.
I've seen the show Death Note and the show Berserk. But
the movie's great. The movie Death Note is...
I only love the live action movie.
Light Turner, because he's turning the lights on and turning them off.
Quiet, Mike.
Okay, that's it. We should go to final thoughts, I guess.
Yeah,
Sounds
we
good.
don't have anything else. If nobody has any
final
last
thoughts,
pitches they want to
Robot.
make, let's hit the final thoughts. We're back. We have been talking our favorite things that we're watching currently, listening to, reading, all that good stuff. We want you to reach out and let us know what you're doing too. But first, we'll give our final thoughts here on the stuff that we're enjoying. I'm just going to stick to what my last pitch was out of all this stuff. I've been enjoying everything else we did, but my one decree would be check out Evangelion. If that doesn't sound like something you'd enjoy, trust me, it's something you might.
Absolutely.
You're making me want to rewatch
It's
it.
worth checking out for sure.
It's so easy to rewatch too.
And there's a ton of OVAs, like You Cannot Advance, and there's a bunch of OVAs that kind of rehash the story in different ways. They add new pilots and Avas and
Yeah, I'm not sure the order. Like, I think there's certain orders that people have made online that you can look up of like to watch things in, when to watch like end of Evangelion and all that. But yeah,
start with the series, get through that. Yeah, but definitely that's a good one.
Totally. Yeah, I would just recommend Reservation Dogs is really strong. I think that's definitely worth checking out. And Pam and Tommy, some good Hulu shows. Yeah.
Yep. Watch Cobra Kai before the next week's episode. If you don't want spoilers, I think it's...
Totally.
I'm not kidding when I say one of the best written shows on television.
Wow.
It makes Rings of Power, which we found out that those writers have literally written nothing. They have one credit, which is an uncredited role, like an uncredited writing on some movie. But
that's I'm not sure how they even got this job. I guess they just had
they
a
got
pitch
dirt on somebody.
Well, it's now leaking out that it seemed like their pitch was closest to what the grandson of Tolkien was interested in having the story be told. So he said, that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, well, they're not doing good.
No. Probably
It's-
shouldn't listen to the great grandson of someone who made a good thing. Let's just put that out there. That
All
doesn't
I'm thinking
entitle
is
you.
it's going to be really embarrassing if Amazon ends up canceling this thing after one season. And I think they should so far with what they've shown me.
I think it'll at least get 2 seasons because of how much
Yeah.
they've invested in it.
It
but
would be impossible.
They'll operate at
Yeah.
a loss. Yeah, they don't care.
And they'll probably, whatever numbers they're reporting, I'm sure they're probably inflated too or whatever, because no one knows the internal numbers of who's watching what, so they can just say whatever, right?
Yeah, so I'll be chaining myself to the desk to watch it every Friday, like reluctantly.
Yeah.
Not looking forward to it. As I said, at this point in the movies, we already were through like tons of adventures, and we haven't even had like one adventure, really.
Right.
So that's a bummer, but there's good stuff on the horizon. Hot D is good. Cobra Kai's good. Watch Evangelion, as Colin said. Reservation Dogs, I highly recommend as well. So, yeah, that's my watches.
Hell yeah. Hot D, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Hot D. Get your hot D here.
Get your hot D here. And then, as Mike said, just once again, we're giving you our last chance here. You've got another week. Watch all of Cobra Kai. It's very important you get completely caught up on all of it so we can break it down together.
Mm-hmm. And then watch Star Trek 6, right? After that?
That's right. Yes.
Star Trek
the rest of
6,
our schedule.
The Undiscovered Country.
Let's do a quick plug of that real quick, Normies. If you haven't been following along with the rest of our movie series, we've been doing once a month the Star Trek theatrically released films, and we're about to come to the end of the original cast's filmatic run.
That's right.
Right
And
before
then,
Generations, when we get
I believe,
Jean-Luc.
right. And before Generations, we're going to do a one-off of Galaxy Quest.
Yes, absolutely.
So
The best
that'll
Star
be in
Trek movie.
October, and then November will be Generations, etc.
And then we'll do all the Tim Allen Santa Claus movies. Hooray!
Yes.
That's right. Got to
And
get
then
ready for
we'll-
the new series they're making.
And then we'll just jump right into every OVA of Evangelion.
Home Improvement. Yeah.
No, don't hold us to that one. Don't put me in that
No.
robot. But
that's the rest of our schedule. Hit us up at normies_like_us if you want to recommend other stuff that we could do to fill in some of those gaps. We're going to have some open episodes coming up, and we love to hear from you all. Rate, review, subscribe. That helps us out a ton. Check out the YouTube too, babies.
yeah,
That's right.
Appreciate y'all. Thanks, Jacob, for putting the videos up. And
Of course.
catch you next time.
Thanks to Mike for doing all the work. And Normies, we appreciate you listening. And thank you so much. Talk to you later.
We love you. Goodbye.
Bye.